on Junkyard Haunts. We like to turn trash into Halloween decorations. So today we're going to make a simple tombstone. First thing you want to grab is cardboard and just draw your shape. You could follow along with what I'm doing, or you can pick your own shape, your own design. Be creative with it. Go as crazy as you want. I don't really have a plan actually when I start building these. I just have an idea in my head like, hey, this is the shape I want, so let's go ahead and make it bulky in 3D. So you don't need to be an artist to draw anything. Halloween decorations aren't meant to be like smooth and fancy. They're supposed to be old and scary. So I decided on mine to have some round corners at the top of my tombstone. I attached some cardboard together and just bent it all the way through so it's easy to wrap around. Here we're gonna add some support so that not only the edges are holding it up, but there's an inner material holding this tombstone up. That if you don't have enough support, the paper mache becomes too heavy and it actually warps the cardboard. It will have dips and ups and it won't stay how you like it. So really you want to make your base structures pretty strong, and then you won't have to worry about any warping or anything like that. Since I didn't really have a plan before I build this, I actually, to get the widths all the same, I actually just cut one that I think is good, and then I just place it on top of the other pieces of cardboard and cut the same width. That way I don't have to spend the time it takes to actually measure things, and I can still get them all the exact same size, or at least close enough. Notice since I didn't actually measure anything, I had to fix some errors there so that they would line up a little better. Again, but if things are off, like, it's no big deal because these are supposed to be decrepit. Oftentimes having errors like that actually makes it better. You want your tombstone to have depth, some 3D depth in here, and so that's what I'm doing. I decided to cut out like the nameplate on tombstones and basically build it up and cut out the lettering so that we have depth. We can see 3D things in there. I actually put the two pieces together, and when I cut out the first one, it drew like a little cutout line so that the second one I would know where to cut out, and it's super easy. And you don't even have to draw it twice or line up anything. Elmer's glue works really well on cardboard. It dries fairly quickly, but you do have to let it sit there for a little bit. Usually on this thing, like, I glue that case on and then I can set the thing aside, work on these other cutouts here, and then come back and it's basically dry enough by then. Here again, just like before, you just cut one piece how you like it and then line them up on the next cardboard and cut them all, and they'll all be the same size. We're just gonna put a quick border around. You notice I'll have some gaps in there. I'm not too concerned about those. We're gonna go in and fill them up with a little cardboard, and we see all these little like lines in between from where since it's not one solid piece. That's okay because we're gonna fill that in and with some paper mache later on. I decided to make a nice little head plate with an E in it, simply because that's my last name. The project overall doesn't take a lot of time, but this is probably the longest process. Putting all of the paper on, dipping it in the mixture, and waiting for it to dry. I find with paper mache, it's just you mix flour and water together until it's a little bit runny consistency. Everywhere says that you want equal parts, like 1 cup flour, 1 cup water. I don't even think I use a cup here, so you don't need that much unless you have a big project. But I stopped measuring when I made paper mache material because one part never seemed to really work out for me. I find it easier, instead of a lot of people dump the paper mache or put the whole piece into the mixture. I find it's too much on there and it gets runny. It makes your paper not not as durable, so I just actually dip my hand in the mixture and rub it on the paper, and that seems to work way better. On the back here I have a big flat surface, so to make things go faster and easier I actually grab really big pieces of paper to just put one on, and it just speeds up so much. On the other side, when you have those small details, you'll want to use smaller pieces of paper so you can actually push it in and get the fine details to show through. But after it dries, here's the real part. This is the part that to me makes it really stand out from just like a simple tombstone, is that we're gonna add some decay to it, and it's simply you just cut out wherever you think would look good on there. You cut out big pieces, small pieces, but we are going to have to fill in those holes. You fill it in with more paper mache, but you want to use really big pieces here because there's nothing really supporting it, so you need the extra strength to attach to all the sides. If you're worried about your structure on the tombstone, go ahead and add a second layer of paper mache to the whole process. Just repeat everything again. But I find that since we built such a good base, a good support, that just one layer was really enough to keep the thing strong and sturdy. But these holes, actually I do a couple of layers, like 3 layers on each hole, because they don't have that same support. Painting is really where this project's going to shine, and honestly I'm not a huge fan of painting myself, so this was something new for me to really bring out the details and make this project shine. This is to learn how to paint better and learn new techniques to make things look nicer. And when you use the gray paint to go over the black, you'll notice that I don't get into all the cracks there. Like, you still see black in the RAP. That's great. That's why we put that base coat in, is to really add depth and make your tombstone look a little bit older. One of the nice things about Halloween props is that it doesn't matter if you screw up. And you'll see that sometimes I don't even wait for things to dry when I paint, and I just start painting the next batch right over it. We're gonna go ahead and add another dry brush technique for some light gray paint. Basically what you do is you put some paint on a plate here, and I actually dip a little bit in the paint, and then I brush it onto the plate itself. To get a lot of that paint off, so I just have a nice little bit on my stone, and this part here really is what adds the detail and makes it look a lot more stone, that gray. We move on to make it look more like a moss, an overgrowth on our thing. So you put a little bit of green. My green was a little bright, so I added some black and then a lot of water. I probably should have even added more water so it looks more runny and stuff. And I even fling it, like I put some on my brush and just throw it on. So I actually have some old like netting like material that I thought I'd just glue on, just basically whatever you want. If you have some moss, just glue it on with more Elmer's glue like everything else, and it will really add some texture and make your thing stand out great. I decided I wanted some darkness to really elevate those inner layers, so I went ahead and just brushed some black back in and brushed over the moss to make it look more old and decrepit. Thanks for joining with me on Junkyard Haunts. I think it turned out pretty good. Remember, that was just some cardboard at the beginning. I always like to look at the product at the end and go over things that I think I could have done better. The pink blood spray, I'm not a fan, so I wouldn't do that again. And I would suggest you not doing that too. The green on here, it looks pretty good, but I wish it was wetter so it would be more runny and drippy. I'm always looking for some new ideas, so let me know what you guys want to do, and maybe we'll get to making those. I'm going to be putting out a whole bunch of these videos, so subscribe and you'll be able to see more creations. Oh. Look at that, sturdy like a rock.